The knock came at exactly 11:47 p.m. on Valentine's night. Not loud, not desperate. Just 3 slow, deliberate taps that somehow echoed through the quiet apartment like a secret demanding to be heard. I remember staring at the door, confused and slightly irritated. I wasn't expecting anyone. Valentine's Day had never meant much to me anyway. For most people, it was a night of roses, candlelight, and promises whispered over dinner. For me, it was just another reminder that life rarely follows the script we imagine for ourselves. Outside, the city lights flickered against my window. Somewhere down the street, a couple laughed as they walked past. And inside my apartment, there was only silence until that knock came again. When I finally opened the door, my heart nearly stopped. Standing there was her, my CEO, the woman who ran the entire company with calm authority. The woman who walked through glass offices with a presence that made even senior executives stand a little straighter. The woman whose decisions moved millions of dollars and hundreds of careers. And yet, on that night, she didn't look like a CEO at all. Her hair was slightly messy. Her eyes carried a softness I had never seen before, and her usual confident posture seemed replaced by something fragile, almost vulnerable. She looked at me like someone standing at the edge of a cliff, unsure whether to step forward or turn back. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she said something that changed my life forever. But before the story continues, take a quick second to support the channel. If you enjoy emotional stories like this, please like the video, comment where you're watching from, share it with someone who loves heartfelt stories, and subscribe to the channel Stories Beyond the Porch. Your support helps keep these stories alive. Now, let's go back to that moment. I had worked at the company for almost 3 years. I was just a mid-level analyst, one of those invisible people who sit behind screens all day, turning numbers into reports that executives skim through during meetings. Our paths rarely crossed. The first time I noticed her was during a quarterly presentation. She walked into the conference room quietly, but the entire atmosphere shifted the moment she entered. Not because she demanded attention, but because she carried a kind of calm confidence that made people naturally listen. She wasn't the type to shout or intimidate. Instead, she asked questions that made people rethink everything they thought they knew. From that day forward, she became a distant figure in my world, someone important but unreachable. Until small moments began to happen, a passing glance in the hallway, a brief nod during meetings. Once, she even remembered my name when asking about a report I had prepared. That moment alone had stayed with me for weeks. Still, I never imagined she knew anything about my life beyond the office. But life has a strange way of weaving invisible threads between people. Months before that Valentine's night, everything had started to change. It began during a project crisis. A major client had threatened to terminate their contract due to a financial reporting error. The entire department was in chaos. Managers were blaming analysts were blaming outdated systems, and the tension inside the office felt like a storm about to explode. I had stayed late that night trying to fix the issue. Around midnight, when most of the building was dark, I heard footsteps behind me. It was her, the CEO herself. She didn't say much at first. She simply sat across the desk and quietly reviewed the data with me. No pressure, no blame, just patience. For hours we worked side by side, solving problems piece by piece. That night, something unexpected happened. For the first time, she wasn't just the powerful leader everyone feared disappointing. She was human. She talked about the company's early struggles, about the nights she had slept in the office during the startup phase, about the fear of failing people who believed in her vision, and somehow we kept talking about work, about life, about the strange loneliness that sometimes follows success. After that night, things between us changed. Not dramatically, not publicly, just quietly. She would occasionally stop by my desk to ask about progress on projects. Sometimes she'd ask about my family. Once she even brought coffee during a long meeting and casually placed an extra cup beside my laptop. Small moments, but meaningful ones. Still, I kept my distance, because there was a line that could never be crossed. She was the CEO, and I was just an employee. But Valentine's night proved that life doesn't care much about lines. Standing at my door that night, she looked different, not powerful, not distant, just honest. Her voice was soft when she finally spoke again. She said she had been trying to ignore something for months, maybe even longer. She had convinced herself it was just admiration, or curiosity, or respect for my work, but the truth had become impossible to hide. The more she tried to ignore it, the stronger it became. And on a night when the entire world seemed to be celebrating love, she realized she couldn't keep pretending that her heart was unaffected. She didn't say it dramatically. She didn't make grand declarations. Instead, she simply admitted something deeply human. She had feelings, and she was terrified of them. What shocked me most wasn't the confession. It was the vulnerability. This was a woman who negotiated million-dollar deals without hesitation, yet standing at my door seemed to frighten her more than any boardroom battle. I didn't know what to say. Part of me was overwhelmed. Another part was afraid, because relationships in workplaces are complicated enough. But when one person runs the entire company, the risks multiply in ways most people can't imagine. Rumors, judgment, career consequences, public scrutiny, all of it hung silently in the air between us. For several minutes, neither of us spoke. Then something unexpected happened. She laughed softly, not the confident laugh of a CEO, but the nervous laugh of someone realizing how ridiculous and risky the moment was. She admitted she almost turned around 3 times while walking up to my apartment. She even sat in her car for nearly half an hour debating whether to leave. But eventually, she decided that living with honesty, even messy honesty, was better than living with regret. And that's when I realized something important. This wasn't a CEO standing at my door. This was just a woman hoping not to be rejected. What followed that night wasn't a dramatic romance. It was something much more complicated. Weeks passed before we even spoke about it again. We kept things professional at work, careful, respectful, but slowly, outside the office, we began talking more. Long walks, late night conversations, sharing pieces of our past we rarely told anyone. I learned that success had come at a heavy cost for her. Years of sacrifices, relationships that faded, friendships lost to ambition, and endless responsibilities. She learned about my quieter life, my struggles growing up, my determination to build stability for my family, and my constant fear of losing the little progress I had made. Somehow, those two very different worlds began to meet in the middle, not perfectly, but honestly. Of course, the challenges didn't disappear. There were moments when we questioned everything, moments when the difference in our positions felt overwhelming, moments when we wondered if we were risking too much. But the truth was simple. What started as curiosity had grown into something deeper, something real. And sometimes, life asks us to take risks not because they're safe, but because they're meaningful. Years later, I still remember that quiet knock on my door. 3 simple taps. A moment that could have been ignored. A moment that could have ended with silence. But instead, it became the beginning of a story neither of us expected. A story about courage, about honesty, and about the strange, beautiful way love sometimes appears when we least expect it. Before we end this story, I want to ask you something from the heart. If this story touched you even a little, please take a moment to like the video, leave a comment, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to Stories Beyond the Porch. And here's a special request for you. Before you leave, comment one line: "Love finds us when we least expect it." Because sometimes the most powerful stories begin with something as simple as a knock on the door. Thank you for listening.